pressure building, I can't take it. I'm flowanastasia. I was born in Ukraine, raised in Toronto, Canada. Yeah, singing and being creative, like drawing, writing, dancing, those are all things that I've definitely had as a big part of me ever since I was a kid. My only formal music education was more in like classical piano and music theory, but it had been sort of like my childhood dream of like being like a professional musician. So I first got into drum and bass only when I was around 18 or 19. Most of the music I listened to growing up, underground hip hop, jazz, some like prog rock, but when I first discovered drum and bass and started getting into it, some of those early artists for me were like Adam F., John B., early stuff as well, where he was doing stuff with like acoustic instruments, combining that with electronic. And so I felt like when I discovered drum and bass, it had everything I loved about all different kinds of music in one kind of genre. I just felt like I found my thing after all those years of listening to different kinds of music. Drum and bass has been like one of those doors that has opened that I can never like walk back from. I've just felt so like at home in a community where, you know, on the dance floor, people are smiling at each other, vibing with each other. Yeah, it's just, it's such a beautiful thing, drum and bass, isn't it? Significant moments in my vocalist career, definitely getting onto UKF drum and bass and Liquicity YouTube channels for premieres were, you know, huge, still huge for me to this day. It's happened a couple more times, but every time that happens, like you do gain a lot of exposure from people that might have not necessarily known you before. And so getting on those channels was absolute huge milestone for me. And again, it's like one of those things that means like the world to me. So it's my official debut album. I've been doing top-line vocals for other producers and being, you know, a featured artist on other people's projects for almost 10 years, and it felt the right time to create my own album. It's gonna showcase, I guess, my diverse styles and tastes. A lot of my public releases up until this point have been, I'd say mostly, I guess, in like the liquid subgenre, but I've always had a passion for deeper, darker stuff as well, the neuro kind of stuff, some dance floor kind of stuff. And so the EP is like all 5 tracks are quite different, but I love that they all represent me. Super surreal collection of artists. They're all artists that I'd actually worked with at least once or twice before. The creative relationship worked out so well. I'm just so grateful for that. Sounds on the album are gonna be very diverse. Single that's already been out is Sending Signals with Tear Cahoot, and that's more of a kind of like a neuro-funk dance floor track. The track with Nympho is also quite different than anything that I've put out before, but it's also one of the most honest representations of me as an artist. A lot of the lyrical themes in the album, Face Yourself, is a very honest and almost uncomfortable reflection of, I guess, internal processes and growth that I've been trying to go through over the last couple of years, and even trying to talk a little bit more about it, to be vulnerable, where I've hidden away from or avoided a lot of the parts of me that I don't like. I've learned that in order to get through it, I have to face it and overcome it, and I can no longer just, you know, push it down and pretend that it's not an issue. I think one of the biggest things that has been a motivation for me when other people are vulnerable and share their stories of whether it's, you know, overcoming addiction or overcoming mental health stuff or overcoming just being dealt like a really bad hand in life, and they're still able to face themselves and get through things. And so a lot of the album is, you know, seeing other people overcome things and then seeing myself in them and letting that, I guess, like inspire me to grow as well. And hopefully this album will maybe do a little bit of that for maybe one person out there, I will hope. It's coming out on Toronto label Deviant Audio. The album itself is going to be, we don't have an official date locked, but it might be around November. Other stuff to look forward to, exclusive for DubHub. I'm actually working on my very first vocal sample pack, and one of the things that I'm gonna do is every song that I write for the sample pack, I'm re-recording it as a slower genre or a slower BPM as well, so that it can be used for dubstep, techno, house, that kind of thing, and across other genres as well. I feel that like if I can start to create sample packs, then more and more people will get to have those seedlings of lyrical ideas and spreading positivity and love and that kind of thing. A lot more interesting Flow with the Show podcast episodes. I have a few other kind of big releases coming out in between then. All I will say is stay tuned for other vocal projects with Mephius, Nympho. That's all I will say for now. Yes. This is Flow Anastasia, and you're watching Dub Hub.